Hello, new, current, and prospective CMS families. Thank you for joining this Facebook Live session today, and we're going to answer your questions about the school choice lottery program and process. And so today, answering your questions is the director of the Magnet School programs, Walter Hall. Thanks, Walter, for joining today. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Doing great.
Good, good, good. So we have our first question. We're going to go ahead and get started because we know that there are some folks who are joining us. So as you join, make sure you share this post on your page, just in case there are parents who want to hear this great information about the CMS school choice magnet programs. So we will start with our first question. What is the school choice lottery process and why should parents be doing it?
Great question. So school choice is a part of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. We're here at the Magnet office. And so we offer a variety of different programs, 71 different magnet schools, 99 different programs, and 12 different themes. And so magnet schools are just about theme-based learning. And so the process to do that works in one of two ways. It is for prospective parents enrolling within the district, or it is for current students that are within the district already. And so the first step, 4 basic easy steps. Number 1, just make sure that you enroll. And so we have a new online enrollment application process. You're able to participate that and reach that online. You can reach that through cmschoice.org or through the main page, www.cms.k12.nc.us. Once you complete that online application and submit your documents, you're able to get notification in a few weeks with your student ID and PIN, and then you'll be able to participate in the lottery process. If you are a current CMS student, you will have gotten a student assignment notification letter that would have came home in students' book bags, and you will be able to find a student ID and PIN there. You'll be able to apply in the lottery, and you'll be able to select the choice that match your student's interest and how they like to learn.
All right, thank you. All right, next question comes from Erica, and she asks, I want to apply for the lottery so that my son can go to a different school. In what month is this done?
So if you want to apply to a lottery to go to a magnet school, this is going to be the lottery application period open December 6th, and it will run all the way through January 21st. So that is the time frame that you're able to do that if you're a current CMS student. If you're looking to move to a different type of school outside of one of our lottery schools, you're able to participate in the transfer reassignment process. And that will actually take place starting at the beginning of February. And you'll be able to use the same student ID and PIN to transfer to a different school if you're interested in moving.
Thank you. We do say thank you for all of those parents who are joining today, prospective families as well. We see that there's some comments that you're posting. And so at the end of all of the pre-built questions, we're going to go back and try to circle back and capture some of those. So thank you for posting those in the chat and as well as comments as well. All right, moving along to our next question coming from Ashley. When will the results be out?
So the lottery will close January 21st. We do some things in the background just to set seat limits and things of that nature. And usually within the week or the first 2 weeks after the lottery closes, families will receive notification. This year, families will have the option to receive notification electronically. So they need to sign up and make sure that their information is accurate using that correct email address that they have on file and accessing their PowerSchool accounts. Or it will come in by mail. So if you choose mail, it will come a little bit later, but usually it takes about 2 weeks for those results to be available.
Thank you. All right, from Maybelline, she's asking, how can I sign up for the lottery?
So 2 options. Number 1, you got to make sure you're a CMS student first, so you'll need the future enroll. And so once you've done that process, you can go to www.cmschoice.org. And at the upper right-hand corner, there's a button that says apply. And that will take you to the page where that will link you into the lottery application. You must have your student ID and PIN in order to participate.
Thank you. From Leslie, do you know when the transfer date period will be for late entry process for the Montessori schools for 2022-2023 school year?
So for our secondary Montessori schools, the late entry process is happening now because the secondary, if you're looking to go to JT Williams, you need to participate in the lottery process and complete your late entry process starting now. In terms of late entry for our our elementary Montessori schools, you can start to reach out to schedule those appointments with the elementary schools. So that would be Park Road Montessori, Chantilly Montessori, Trillium Springs Montessori, and Chantilly Montessori. And that process will actually work through the transfer reassignment process, which will start in early to mid-February.
Thank you. Thank you. And also, if you notice in the comment section of this live, our CMS school choice team is listing that process. So you can click that link and it'll take you to the same steps that Mr. Hall just mentioned. As we move forward, when will the late entry process begin for dual language programs?
Same case for our dual language programs. Grades 2 through 8 and 10th, 11th, and 12th, they do have a late entry process. And so the grades that are not involved in the lottery, those processes will start to take place in the spring. Families will have to do the transfer reassignment process, which will start early to mid-February.
Early to mid-February. Thank you. All right. From Adrian, how do I find my child's PIN number?
It's a great question. There's a number of different ways that you can find your PIN. Our schools have received their student assignment letters, and so those should be in book bags if they were passed out. So you will see your student ID number and PIN in a letter in the book bag. So look for that. An additional way, you can contact any CMS staff member. They're able to generate a PIN for you. You can also call our offices, 980-343-5030. But we do work in schools, so if you want a faster response, feel free to email us, schoolchoice@cms.k12.nc.us. You also can reach out to student placement, which is 980-343-5335.
Right. So we have a question from Kelly. She submitted a new future enrollment form on December the 6th. I have yet to receive my student's ID or PIN. If they are not able to process the enrollment form in time, will there be an extension for the lottery?
So we did start a new process this year with future enrollments where families will submit documents online. Families will get their notifications via email, and so they'll get their student ID and they'll get their PIN. Student families that have submitted their information by January 14th are guaranteed to be able to participate in the lottery, which will close on January 21st. So no worries there, no need to panic. It is a new process. It is taking a little bit longer, but all families that have met the deadline to participate will have a chance to participate in the lottery. In the event that we would have to extend the lottery, we would do that, but I do not foresee that having to happen at this time.
Righty. Next question, Hunter's mom. How long will it take to receive a decision, and what communication channel will be used? In parentheses, snail mail, email, or both?
So the lottery process is ran through our computer systems. It's an algorithm, and so it goes through a system of priorities and guarantees. And so once we process that computer program, it just takes just a little bit of time. We'll close on the 21st. We'll run it quite a few times to make sure everything is working correctly. And then you'll receive your notification by email if you signed up and activated your PowerSchool account to receive electronic document delivery. If you have not, you will get it by mail. So the email, of course, is going to be a lot faster. We're looking to make that happen a week or two after the lottery process. If you have not signed up for your digital account, which you will receive instructions for to do that soon, you'll get it by mail, which will be a little bit slower. And so you'll get that information. You should have your information before mid-February, but we're aiming to get that to you as soon as possible.
Thank you. All right, next question is from Ms. Stokes. Is priority given to certain groups like children already on a wait list or that live close to the school, or is the process completely random?
So there are a number of different guarantees and priorities in the lottery algorithm and the lottery process. To take one of these at a time, children that are on a wait list, that is not a priority. Each year, our wait list is dissolved after the first quarter or the 20th day of school. And so those wait lists go away. So students do have to reapply. Families that live close to the school are eligible for what is called a proximity priority. So if you're trying to attend a school that has um, that doesn't have a neighborhood attendance boundary, or what we used to formerly call a full magnet school, you'll get a little bit of a priority. There are a certain percentage of seats that are saved for families for the proximity priority. And the process is organized um, in a random fashion with the system of guarantees and priorities. And so there's a number of different priorities and guarantees that you can find on our website if you look at our presentation on www.cmschoice.org.
Thank you. All right. From Shine, it says, can I get a list of the magnet schools? And are the magnet schools year-round schools?
So I can tell you where you can get a list of the magnet schools. You can get them at www.cmschoice.org. There are 71 different schools. They are organized by transportation zone and high school feeder patterns, as well as elementary, middle, and high school. So there's a chart there. If you go to the front page, there's a hexagon that says themes in schools. And there's a lot of informative information there where you can see the types of schools that we have, the number of schools that we have, the names of the schools, and actually where they're located. So that's a good resource to start. We don't have any magnet schools that are year-round, and actually in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, we don't have any schools that are year-round schools currently. So we had some in the past, but currently we do not have any year-round schools.
Thank you, Walter. Sean is asking, for those of us who fall outside of zoning for the school we get matched with, will there be busing available?
So that's an interesting question. When we talk about zoning, I mean, we will need a little bit more specifics around that. So if you're applying to a school within your transportation zone, which would be, we have 3 zones, which will be the violet zone, which starts from Center City, Charlotte, and goes as far lake as the Huff High School feeder pattern, or right next to Lake Norman. That's the violet zone. We have the blue zone, which is Southwest Charlotte. That starts from Center City, Charlotte to Southwest Charlotte. And then we have the green zone, which starts from Center City, Charlotte, and goes to East and Southeast Charlotte. And so if you apply for a school within your zone, you will get transportation to that particular school. There are schools that are one-of-a-kind type of schools that are county-wide. So no matter where you live in the county, you will get transportation to that particular school. So that question does have a little bit of a nuance. If you're applying for a school that's not a magnet school, and it's outside of your neighborhood attendance boundary or zone, you will not get transportation unless there's a special situation where a student may have some special needs and they are assigned to a particular school. There may be transportation available for that, but in general, you have to apply for schools that are within your zone in order to get transportation.
All right. Robin is saying, my daughter is in the 2nd grade at a magnet school. If we were to enter the lottery for another school in the future and she didn't get a magnet spot in a new school, would she lose her spot at the current magnet school and be reassigned to the neighborhood school? Or would she just keep her spot at the current magnet school if she didn't get into the new magnet school?
That's a great question, Robin. When you apply for a seat at another school, you do not lose your current seat. Every student has to be seated in a seat. When you are assigned a new seat, you relinquish your current seat. So let's say you're a 2nd grader at Hall Elementary School and you want to apply to Chestnut Elementary School. And so if you apply to that school and you don't get in, you remain in your current assignment. If you selected 3 choices on your lottery application and you are admitted into one of the 3 schools on your lottery application, then you will lose your seat at the current school that you are assigned to. So That's a good question. You won't lose your seat for applying for a different school, but if you're assigned a different school, you will lose your seat and gain another one.
All right, Lakia is asking, if my child is already enrolled in remote learning and I wish to continue with that option, what are my next steps?
So if you are enrolled in remote learning, there is nothing more that you have to do. You have to make sure that you're meeting continuation requirements. So you have to make sure that you're in good standing with the school, that you have good attendance, that you're not failing your coursework, but you will move on to the next level. If you have not met those conditions, you will be reassigned to your home school. In the event that that happens, there's a process that is followed, and you would know well in advance if you were not assigned to the next level of remote learning. But all students that are currently in our Charlotte-Mecklenburg virtual schools will continue to the next grade level. If they're in fifth grade, they'll move to sixth grade. If they're in eighth grade, they'll move to ninth grade, and so forth. So they will continue to move through the different grade levels because there is automatic continuation. There's nothing that you need to do.
All righty. Next question says, my oldest daughter got into a magnet school last year. Now I want to register my youngest one. How do I apply for it?
So it goes back to making sure that your youngest child is enrolled within CMS schools, so you can do future enrollment starting right now. And when you do your lottery application, if you put that same school that your oldest daughter is, she will automatically be assigned there. The oldest daughter cannot be applying for another school, or she cannot be leaving that current school. So that's what we call our sibling guarantee. And as long as the students are in the same school at the same time, they're able to have the automatic guarantee.
Right. This is from T. If my child is a current enrolled student at a lottery school, will I need to resubmit a new application for the 2022-2023 school year?
So you will not need to submit a new application for the 2022-2023 school year. The only instance where you would need to do that is where there is a program where there's a terminal grade. So for instance, our leadership programs, they don't go past 8th grade. So students that are at Eastway or Quail Hall will go back to their home school for 9th grade. The other situation where you would need to apply is if you wanted to change a particular theme. And so that's when you would need to do that. But if you're currently enrolled at a lottery school, you will not need to submit a new application to move to the next grade level.
Right. From Latasha, my son was able to be assigned to North Meck for the 21-2022 school year. Would I have to do it again for the 2022-2023 year for his 10th grade year?
So you're already enrolled in North Mecklenburg, and so you would not need to do that for the 2022-2023 school year if you did that through the lottery or the transfer reassignment process. If you move to North Meck in that attendance boundary and your address changed, and you're not in a magnet program, at the end of the year, you would move to your new home school. But if you're in a magnet program and you're assigned to North Meck, you do not have to do anything to remain there.
All right, from Haral says, how can I apply directly for a magnet school for my little one who's about 4.5 years old? What if I don't get a seat selection?
So Haral, one of the things that you need to do is the future enrollment process. So I'm assuming 4.5. There'll be 5 by August, first day of school. So they need to be 5 by the first day of school to apply for kindergarten. If not, they can apply for pre-K if it's after August, first day of school. And there are times where you, depending on what you're applying for, you will not get a seat selection and you'll be assigned to your home school. It depends on the applicant pool. It depends on how many families are applying for the number of seats that are available. In the event where you're applying for a school and there's 100 seats and there's 400 applicants, 300 of those applicants may not be seated in that particular school. So that does happen, but those 300 applicants will be assigned to their second or third choices or to their home school.
Thank you. Before we move to the next question, we do want to remind you, we do see some comments that are being posted in the chat via this live. And so the school choice team is actually responding to some of those, but we're going to share some of those at the end of this discussion once we get through the pre-built questions. So don't leave the live. Keep watching. We're going to get to your questions. All right. Next question from Gray C. If my son was born in January of 2019, when can I enter him into the Montessori lottery?
2019. They have to be four by the first day of school in August. So if it's 2019 and it's 2021, I'm assuming they're 2 right now. They got about 2 more years. So they have to be 4 to apply. You have to be 4 by the first day of school. So you could start that process depending on when our window is, when they are sometime around when they're 3.
Righty. From T, transportation is a major factor in my decision to apply for another school for my child. What resources can I utilize to factor into consideration when thinking about him attending school across town?
I think one of the major resources, and this is a great point, one of the major resources to look at cmschoice.org and our themes and schools chart. It shows a transportation chart just to show you what priorities you have and what transportation options that you have. When selecting a school, one of the main things or one of the main factors in understanding where a child goes to school is if you can get your child to school there on time, every day, consistently, and you'd be able to go on and do what you need to do during the day, whether that's work, volunteer, or some of the things that you need to do as an adult. So I would say one of the first things to do is look at cmschoice.org, look at those schools and kind of look at where you are in that transportation zone. That's a great place to start. If you need additional questions or you need an appointment, feel free to reach out to us. We can look up individual information and kind of talk you through your process to help you make a decision.
Next question or comment. The school zones change so much that when you decide that you would like to send your child to a better school, it's impossible because of transportation. What happens to Magnet School and IB having buses for kids?
So we have those 3 transportation zones. Through our student assignment review process, our zones only change, well, not only, but they change about every 7 years. That is a part of our policy. So the 3 transportation zones, there are pretty widespread. So it does give families a wide variety of schools to choose from. There are schools for specific zones. Of course, elementary schools, you have more elementary schools, and the middle schools, there's less of those. And then high schools, of course, there are only 5. And so we do have busing and transportation for students that are in IB programs. There are IB programs situated in each one of our transportation zones. So students can get transportation. There are actually multiple IB schools in each of the transportation zones that students have a choice to get options and transportation to.
All righty. From Lana, how will the transfer process work from in-person to virtual if there is another surge in the COVID-19 numbers?
So I'm not qualified to speak on or authorized to speak on what modality of learning will take place in respect to COVID-19 numbers. There's a lot of different types of guidance that we will follow. We have our local guidance from our local county department. We have our superintendent and our board of education, as well as the governor and the state board of education. And so all of those factors play into how the district moves and makes a decision from in-person to virtual learning. This year, we did open a virtual academy, grades kindergarten through 12th grade. We've always had the 9 through 12 virtual academy available. The previous years, there was state law and legislation that allowed schools to do what we call full remote academy, which allowed multiple schools to have multiple virtual situations. And so that legislation expired. And so currently it would take legislation and some guidance to kind of help us understand how we would deal with another surge and teaching and learning in respect to COVID-19 from in-person to virtual.
For Maria, is there an opportunity to opt for a change of school for the second time? Can I change my son to Audrey Kell High School? If it's not possible, would he lose the space where he currently is?
So that's a very specific question. We would need to look at some student data to kind of understand what situation you're explaining. Anyone can apply to any school in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. There's a request for reassignment or transfer as long as they're eligible for that particular school. They have to make sure that the grade level is offered at that particular school, and there's some other conditions. And so when you're looking at a school where someone wants to transfer, let's say from Providence High School to Audrey Kell High School, a family can fill out a transfer form. And so there's a narrative that goes with that. Our student placement specialist will be able to take a look at that, and they'll make a recommendation around that particular process. If you are granted a transfer, you will lose the space where you currently are when you submit that approval letter to that new school.
Thank you for that great answer there. From Tashara, why is there such a limited amount of magnet programs that offer EC services? I feel there weren't many magnet program options, or they weren't available to my older child when selecting schools.
So I wouldn't say that there's a limited amount of magnet programs that offer EC services. We have to follow FAPE, which is a fair and appropriate public education. And so we have to make sure that the services that students need are available at the schools and that we're able to serve those students. So depending on the student's specific EC services that they need may determine the availability of specific programs. We have exceptional children's services in every one of our magnet schools. It just depends on the level of services that a particular student needs. We have extensions programs in some of our middle schools and elementary schools, and we're expanding those for some of our students that have different types of services that are needed. But it all depends on our ability to meet the students' need and give them the services that they need that's required based upon their individualized education plans or IEP.
All righty. All right, so last submitted question before we go into some of the live questions. What is the deadline for the lottery, and where can parents go to get more information?
So the deadline for the lottery is January 21st at 10 p.m. Parents can go to www.cmschoice.org, and there's lots of information there. We have a live presentation that you can watch. You can look through those resources. We have links to the different schools. We have a calendar where you can submit or select different events that schools are hosting to learn more about those particular schools. But one of the great places to start would be www.cmschoice.org. If you need more individualized information, you can set up a personal appointment with us via our Calendly link that is at the bottom of that CMS Choice page. And you can also send us an email, which is at schoolchoice@cms.k12.nc.us. And we're also very active on social media. So if you just got a quick question, you need to send us something via Messenger. We'll get back to you as soon as we get that. We do work in schools. We do coach principals. We do make sure that theme integration is happening. So our slowest method of response is going to be telephone and voicemail. But if you email us, we'll guarantee to write you back as soon as possible. And then as well as with social media, you'll also get a faster response as well.
Thank you so much for answering those questions. And also thank you to those parents who pre-submitted those questions for our discussion today. As we transition to our live, we noticed that our CMS School Choice team has been responding to some of those questions. And so we're just going to bring up one special question here before we end. And so this question at the bottom is from Maribel Gutierrez, and she stated that we received a letter about we need to reapply. Is this the truth?
So we sent out the student application letters with the student ID and PIN numbers. And so that information was printed on the wrong form. There was a letter, or there was a line at the top of that letter that we does not accurate. So that letter was not supposed to go out to every student, but it did. Our information got printed on there. And so you can ignore that first line. That letter would be for someone that has submitted a lottery application. And let's say I submitted my lottery application today, and next week I moved and I changed my address with the school. You would get that actual letter. So just disregard that letter. The information in the letter is accurate, which is the student ID and PIN, but you do not need to reapply if you are in a current magnet seat or you have applied in the lottery already.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Walter Hall, the Director of Magnet Programs, for answering those questions. And as we close out, is there any final reminders you want to share with those new families or those current families in the Magnet School programs? Anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say selecting a school is one of the hardest decisions that you would do for your young child. You know, you want to make sure your kid's in a good place. We want you to make sure that you're researching these options, that you're paying attention to the schools, that you understand the offerings that are available, as well as the expectations that a school may have. And so if you're applying to a dual language program or a language immersion program, just knowing that, you know, 100% or 90% of your target instruction is going to be in that target language. And so just understanding the programs. We want you to know that you can reach out to us for any questions that you may have. We're here. We talk about those different types of forms that you can contact us. And then last but not least, the lottery application period opened December 6th, and it will run all the way through January 21st. The future enrollment deadline will be to participate in the lottery will be January 14th. So just please make sure that you get those documents and information in. It doesn't matter if you apply on the first day or the last day. There's no preference in terms of like, if I applied first, I'm going to get my seat first. So there's no panic there. We're working through getting your student ID and PIN for the people that are new to CMS and in registering. And so if you just have any questions, just let us know. We're here to help you. We'll be out for a few days during the holiday break, but we'll be live and ready to go at the top of the year.
All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. This post will still be on Facebook, so you can have a chance to go back and watch it and make sure we have answered those questions for you today. And happy holidays to everyone. And thanks for joining.
Happy holidays. Stay safe.